And we are back. Welcome back to the prediction series. It is time for non-stop club football until March. Yes, the international breaks are finally over and we can finally get stuck into the club football season. And we are kicking things off with my predictions today for Premier League Game Week 12 before heading into another full European week of Champions League, Europa League and Europa Conference League videos for those coming on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday respectively. So before we get into today's video, if you haven't done so already, please do consider dropping a like on this video. Firstly, if you're happy to see club football back for the foreseeable future. Secondly, if you do enjoy all of my predictions series. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so you don't miss out on any of the predictions we've got coming up for you over the course of the next few months. Let's skip ahead now to the prediction screen where you'll see after last week, we are on 56 out of 110 Premier League results with 10 correct scores. However, I have to say, of the 10 matches played last week, I was 1 goal off the correct score on 7 of them, which is ridiculous. And of those 7 games, 3 of them ended up being the wrong result by that 1 goal. So we almost had our best ever week. Turns out we ended up with just 4 out of 10 with no correct scores. However, it was a very good Nations League for us, getting a whole bunch of results. And we also got no less than 8 correct scores in the Nations League over the course of the last week. So it's been a pretty good run for us in terms of predictions. It is now, though, time to look ahead to the Premier League. And don't forget, you can have your say on every single one of these Premier League games over on the community page. We have a little voting tool so you can decide who you think is going to win, lose or draw, posting your comments about each individual match on there. And without any further ado, let's get straight into it then. Premier League Game Week 12 kicks off with the Saturday lunchtime kickoff between Leicester City and Chelsea. This is 15th place Leicester taking on 3rd place Chelsea. Leicester have not won any of their last 3 matches. Chelsea are unbeaten in their last 3 matches, and their last 3 have been against Newcastle, Man United and Arsenal. So Chelsea on a pretty decent run in terms of results recently. Leicester, not the best. This is the first match of many this week that are filled with injuries. Reece James is once again injured for Chelsea. They also have Romeo Lavia, and then Fofana and Gusto potentially doubtful for this one. For Leicester, they've got Buenanotte suspended. They've lost Fataru, their young starlet. He's going to miss the entirety of the rest of the season after his injury on international duty, and multiple of their attacking options have been registered as doubtful for this one, the likes of Vardy, De Cordova-Reid, Patson Daka, few others, all listed as doubtful. So they could make it, they might not. We'll have to see what the manager's press conference has to say. Ultimately, the form that Leicester are in, the form that Chelsea are in, the players available to both sides, you've got to fancy Chelsea to win this one. Even with Leicester's injury concerns up front, Chelsea still are leaking goals. So I'm going to give Leicester a goal, but I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Chelsea to kick off this week's predictions. That then takes us to the 3 o'clock kickoffs, and unfortunately, I think nobody expected this game to be one of real significance when they did decide what games are going to be played at what time, because this is Arsenal against Forest. It's 4th against 5th, both sides on 19 points, with exactly the same records. 5 wins, 4 draws, 1 loss. Arsenal are just ahead of their opponents on Saturday by 1 goal in the goal difference. However, Arsenal are without a league win in 4, whereas Forest's amazing league run finally came to an end in their last game against Newcastle, suffering their first defeat of the season to Newcastle at home last time out. In terms of injury concerns for Arsenal, it's only really Ben White that is the real big blow for them. He looks like he's going to be out till after Christmas now, so it's quite a serious one for him. Whereas their other players are just about working their way back up to full fitness, the likes of Ødegaard and Gabriel and some of their other defenders, Bukayo Saka, Martinelli. They're all sort of getting themselves back up to full fitness. For Forest, no real injury concerns for them. And Chris Wood, the man of the moment, the Premier League Player of the Month, he managed to bag himself 5 goals for New Zealand over the international break as well. So he is absolutely red hot right now. Can Forest cause an upset against Arsenal here? To be fair, I don't think they will. I think Forest will score. Arsenal defensively at home are not the best, but I would still expect a near enough full-strength Arsenal side to come out on top here. But I'm going to err on the side of caution. I'm going for 2-1 to the Gunners. Second 3 o'clock... my words out. Second 3 o'clock kickoff sees Aston Villa taking on Crystal Palace. Aston Villa have lost all of their last 4 games in all competitions, and that won't be the last time I say that in this video. But they're taking on a Crystal Palace side that are in the relegation zone after suffering a defeat at home to Fulham in the last game week. Villa's poor form has seen them slump to 9th as well. But going into this, once again, it's injuries that are going to be the big concern. And it's the injuries for Crystal Palace that we need to talk about. No Wharton, no Eberechi Eze, and then also Daichi Kamada suspended for his poor challenge a couple of weekends ago. Leaves Villa in a very, very strong position. Yes, they have a couple of injury concerns, but Matty Cash could be back and available for this one. So I think Villa are going to be near enough at full strength. They are the home side. Palace are in the relegation zone. Final thing to note is that Crystal Palace did win the last matchup between these two sides 5-0, which was the last game of last season. But by that point, Villa had already secured Champions League football. They weren't really under any threat. There was nothing really on the line. So I would expect Villa to bounce back with a revenge for the 5-0 defeat and also looking to set right the 4 defeats in a row. I'm going for a 2-0 victory to Aston Villa. The next one is a little bit tougher to call. It is Bournemouth taking on Brighton. It's 12th against 6th. Bournemouth's incredible run of form came to an end last time out when they took on Brentford, whereas Brighton, with the help of a returning João Pedro, were able to see off Manchester City 2-1, emulating the 2-1 victory that Bournemouth got against Manchester City the week before. Once again, we have to talk about injuries, and in this case, it is Brighton that are suffering the most, considering the likes of Karioglu, Lewis Dunk, Hinchelwood, Minte, all could be missing for Brighton. All would you consider first team starters for them. Whereas for Bournemouth, they're only really missing Ryan Christie through suspension. But there is a slight doubt over Antoine Semenyo. But the expectation is that Semenyo will be available. Both games were won by the home side when these sides met last year. It's so tough to call. I would probably say Bournemouth are considered the favourites for this, being the home side. But I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. I can see this one being a very entertaining one to watch, with both sides looking to steal the win. Next up, it is Everton taking on Brentford, and it has to be said there are a lot of things in favour for Everton going into this game. Firstly, despite how good Brentford have been this season, they are absolutely top of the home form guide. They are completely number one for home form. However, away from home, they are 19th on 0 points. They have lost every single away game so far this season, have Brentford. Not only that, Everton won both fixtures that these two sides played in last year, and Brentford could be without Johan Visser after the international break as well. So even though I think a lot of people are going to look at this game and think that Brentford are going to come out on top here, it is just worth noting that there are a lot of things going in favour of Everton for this one. They also seem to have all of their players back and available for this one, but they are the third lowest scorers in the division, so I would not expect this to be a high-scoring game. Everton have only lost 1 of their last 5, but 3 of those 5 have been draws, and that is what I'm going to go for here. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw for Everton and Brentford. The final 3 o'clock kickoff sees 7th place Fulham taking on 19th place Wolves. Both sides have had a little bit of a resurgence recently. Fulham, like I say, up to 7th after back-to-back impressive wins. Wolves, even though they are still 19th in the Premier League table, are now unbeaten in their last 3. 2 draws, and then finally getting their first win of the season last time out. Wolves, again, though, are a side with multiple injury concerns. Not to key players, but certainly to players that are going to be in and around that first team squad. Whereas Fulham just keep looking like they're going from strength to strength. They're probably the most consistent side in terms of player performance. Yes, they're not getting wins every single week, but it's very rare you look at a Fulham player and go, that person's having a bad game. Every single player in their squad is performing very well at the moment. At home, you would expect them to win. Last season, the home side won both of these fixtures. Wolves have been good for a goal in every single game bar the first game of the season so far, so I'm still going to give Wolves a goal, but I've got to go for a Fulham win here. I'm going for 2-1 to Fulham. That then brings us to the late kickoff on Saturday, and it is an absolutely massive one. It is Manchester City taking on Tottenham. Manchester City with 4 defeats in a row in all competitions. I told you it wouldn't be the last time we said it. And they now have Pep Guardiola signing his new contract. They are taking on a Spurs side who were the first side to beat Manchester City this season. They were the side that started this 4-game losing run. But they are coming into this off the back of 2 very poor performances against Galatasaray in the Europa League and then losing at home to Ipswich in the Premier League before the international break. Mickey van der Ven is guaranteed to be out through injury. Bentancur is suspended due to the comments he made regarding Heung-min Son. And then the big question is, can Christian Romero get himself fit and available for this one? Because if they've not got Van der Ven and they've not got Romero for this one, I think it's going to be a very, very long night for Tottenham, with Manchester City looking to put right the poor performances they have shown recently. For City, it looks like a lot of players are coming back from injury. Most notably, Kevin De Bruyne is expected to be in the matchday squad in some capacity. Whether or not he'll start, I'm sure Pep Guardiola will mention something in his pre-match press conference. For me, the way that Spurs play, they don't know how to play any other way. They're going to still go for it. I can't see them sitting in too deep. The games between City and Spurs are always entertaining under Postecoglou, and I still expect City to come out on top. And if they do have that defensive line missing, I'm going to go for a 4-1 victory to Manchester City. That then takes us to Sunday, and the opening game on Sunday sees the bottom club, Southampton, taking on top of the league, Liverpool. And to be honest, I probably don't need to say much more than that to say that Liverpool are probably going to win this. But just to make things even worse for Southampton, Aaron Ramsdale, their goalkeeper, is now injured as well. To be fair, there are still doubts over whether or not Virgil van Dijk and Trent Alexander-Arnold are going to be available for this. But ultimately, Liverpool should come out on top. Again, though, Southampton, they do like to play a possession style of play, and they could still starve Liverpool of the ball to the point where I don't think this is going to be a crazy scoreline in Liverpool's favour. This is the sort of game where if this was still Jurgen Klopp in charge, I'd probably go for like a 5-1 in Liverpool's favour. But with the way Arne Slot's been playing this season, the way he likes to structure his matches, I still expect Liverpool to come out on top. But this time, I'm just going to go for a 2-0. But you never know. On their day, Liverpool could absolutely spank Southampton in this one. The other game on Sunday sees the start of the Ruben Amorim era. It is Ipswich Town taking on Manchester United. And with a lot of people expecting Manchester United to just turn up here and get the victory. Obviously myself included as a Manchester United fan. But again, we have to look at this objectively. This is going to be Manchester United's first game playing in a brand new system. And although the players have been saying they've been loving it in training, to make that shift from a 4-back to a 3-back is a tough one to make. Not to mention the fact that Ipswich did just win at Spurs. This is no easy game. If it was still Van Nistelrooy or Ten Hag in charge, I would be talking about how tough a game this is. Just because Amorim's in charge doesn't mean Ipswich suddenly become an easy game to play against. Not to mention as well that everyone's saying new manager pomp, this, that and the other. Erik Ten Hag's first 2 games in charge were embarrassing defeats for Manchester United. This group of players have a tendency to not perform when it matters. So I think it is going to be a really, really tight game. Again, though, I'm going to put my biased hat on for this one and say as a Manchester United fan, with a new manager in charge, with a new exciting style of play, I would expect Manchester United to beat Ipswich. But we're 13th for a reason, so I'm going to err on the side of caution and just go for a narrow 2-1 victory. But genuinely, I do think Ipswich are more than capable of producing a result here. Just as a Manchester United fan, I've got to back the boys and I've got to back the new manager to kick things off with a win. And then finally, it is the Monday Night Football. Newcastle United taking on West Ham in a fixture which produced no less than 11 goals over the 2 games last season. A 2-2 at West Ham and a 4-3 victory for Newcastle at St James's Park. Coming into this one, though, Newcastle are certainly the side on much better form. An impressive 1-0 win at home to Arsenal, backed up by a brilliant 3-1 away win, ending Nottingham Forest's unbeaten run so far this season. Whereas West Ham, they're still really, really underperforming at the moment. There's a lot of question marks over Julian Lopetegui's future at the moment, already in charge of West Ham. In terms of injuries and suspensions, there are no real major injury concerns for either side outside of Fulkrug and Callum Wilson still being out, respectively. But Dan Burn and Mohamed Kudus are both respectively suspended for this one. Ultimately, though, with Newcastle at home, the way they played the last couple of matches, the way West Ham have played the last couple of matches, I think the expectation is for this Monday night game that Newcastle come out on top, and I'm going to give them another clean sheet as well. I'm going for 2-0 to Newcastle. And that is going to be it for today's video. As I've already mentioned, let me know down in the comment section all of your thoughts on these games. Don't forget to head over to the community page so you can have your comments on each individual fixture and vote for who you think is going to come out on top. Thank you very much for watching as always. I'll be back with my post-match reaction to Ipswich Man United on Sunday, and then we'll kick things off in Europe once again with the half-hour Champions League prediction video coming for you on Monday morning. I'll see you there.